Hi guys, sorry it's been so long since I've been posting any videos. I am back to in-studio classes or training, but many of you have reached out and asked for some more new videos just to keep things fresh because you're choosing to stay at home. So this is going to be hopefully a regular or a consistent posting, probably weekly at max. But try to get things on there so you can shuffle through and have some variety in your workouts. So predominantly strength. Today's going to be fit or functionally integrated training. We are going to use a band, a stability ball, and a medicine ball. But you could always just use a band since that's going to be our predominance for resistance. So let's get started. So I want you to go ahead and grab your weight or your medicine ball, which I've got here. Mine's only 6 or 8 pounds, something like that. But I want you to go ahead and step with your feet nice and wide and just begin to squat. Kind of giving yourself a little bit more heat, building a more connective, kinetic chain from your hips, through your knees, to your ankles. And I want you to notice some grounding through your feet. Make sure that your heels stay flat, and little by little, see if you can descend just a bit more with that hip hinge. Don't be afraid to lean forward to get that hip hinge. Start to sweep that weight low, and maybe chest or head level. So nothing crazy high right now. Just trying to build a little bit more range of motion through the shoulders and how it connects into the torso. We're gonna do 4 more just like this. Give myself a little bit more ceiling space. Then I want you to start to circle that weight low and around. So we're still working into that squat, that hip hinge, knee and ankle, foot grounding. Let's do 2 more this direction. And then switch, circle the opposite way. As you're circling the arms, I want you to notice your shoulder blades gliding around your ribs and back. Kind of working all those different ways that the shoulder blades do. Come back to just your squat, down and up. 2 more like this. Then I want you to take it low to the left, high to the right. So a little hay bale. As you rotate, make sure you're lifting that left heel off the ground. 2 more here. And come back to just the squats. 2 more here. Then take it low to the right, high to the left. So just that opposing rotation. So again, nothing crazy, just building a little bit more heat and therefore more elasticity through your connective tissue. And back to your squats. Just 3 more. Then I want you to go ahead and lose that weight or the medicine ball. Grab your band. And I want you to lightly choke up. So you still have a lot of slack through the center of it. Take your feet nice and wide. Take the band in front of you and start to reach overhead. Sweep it all the way to the back behind you. Back overhead and back to the front. Do that a little bit faster. Up and back, up and front. So in this motion of the scap, I want you to notice a little elevation, but also upward rotation or how the sides of the scapula pull out to the side and upward. So we're allowing some freedom through that humeral head. We're also getting some good motion and elevation and depression of the scap, or a shrug and a depress. We're gonna go 2 more here. Then I want you to keep the band, grab your stability ball. A step, a box would work great as well. Just something so you're a little bit more elevated. And then I want you to take that band in front of you, wrap the center of it underneath both feet. If you want more resistance, you can always wrap each foot just a little bit more. Because remember, what we're using is the resistance of the handles to the foot. You can also just choke up with reaching lower on that band. Then as you sit nice and tall, I just want you to start to row back. So everything is kind of in retraction on that pole and a little bit of protraction on that forward motion. So allowing yourself to get some of that serratus involved here. And because the resistance is not excessive, unless you're really wrapped tight, we're gonna do quite a few repetitions, really working more on posture. So as you're pulling back, work to sit nice and tall, yet refrain from flaring those base ribs. Then I want you to take the elbows nice and high. So I've given myself a little bit more range of motion via just letting go of some of that choking, i.e. more resistance band to work with. And in this position, most of us start to get a lot of the upper trap fibers to fire. I want you to envision just below that inferior edge or angle of your scap, pulling down. So it still allows for upward rotation, but lower trap engagement. Let's do 8 more just like this. Let's go 4 more here. Then I want you to cross the band, walk the feet in a little bit, hug the elbows to the sides, and turn the palms up. So we're now looking for a little bit more of a vertical humerus from shoulder to elbow without any kind of protraction of the arm bone. And then you're just gonna rotate out to the sides, or that external rotation, and then resisting medial or internal rotation. So it feels a little awkward against the lower legs. But again, nothing too intensive in resistance, kind of just prepping for more stability that's gonna come. But we're still gonna do 2 sets of all these, because even these, what I like to call therapy exercises, are really important to do, not just in your warm-up, but continuously throughout your workout, kind of resetting everything or engaging in proper positions. Now we're going to go ahead and lose the band. Roll out to a little bit more of a ball position in the small of the back. The wider your foot are placed, or their feet are placed, you're going to have more stability for balance. Hands behind your head. Go ahead and extend back and fold forward. So we're going to work kind of slowly here to allow our spine to extend fully without a big dumping into the low back. So I almost want you to feel as if you're pulling those front hip bones up with you as you descend in the back position. There's some activity of head pushing into your hands, since most of us are very protracted or head forward. Just remembering those neck extensors work to keep us in alignment against gravity when we're upright. Instead of forward only, angle to one side, then angle to the other side. We're going to do 4 more to each. Last 2. Just take note in how you're rotating one side compared to the other. One more time. Go ahead and walk yourself to a seat and then push that ball off to the side. I want you to grab your long band. And once again, standing nice and tall. This time, toes and knees angled outward. Kind of like the shoulders, we're doing that external rotation. This time it's from the hips. You're gonna wrap each hand to create quite a bit of tension, but not so much that you can't keep your elbows extended. Bring your arms in front of you with those elbows straight, and then just give me a sumo squat or a plie. Like our normal squats, or that hip to shoulder width, I want you to make sure your heels and your midsoles stay down, so you have an even load heel, big toe mound, and little toe mound, or the tripod of your foot. We're gonna do 4 more just like this. Then as you descend, you're gonna row both arms back, both arms, but with the elbows staying straight, so the fulcrum point remains around the shoulder girdle. Let's do 4 more just like this. Notice if anything has changed in the weight load of the feet. Take it down and hold 3 counts. Come up on that 4th count, repeat that, hold. And on that hold, see if you can energize in that vertical line versus dumping into the hips and knees. Now on that hold, bend your elbows in, push out, rise up. Do that again. So we're getting a little bit of downward rotation of the scap as the elbows pull in, and a little bit of upward rotation as we press out and drive into that tricep or elbow extension. Let's do 1 more. Then I want you to go ahead and release. Take one handle, lasso the other handle through, so you have a little bit of a loop. Wrap that loop around your right foot. Pull it taut. It's not going to feel extremely sturdy or set. Then I want you to take that left foot, step into the center of the band, and know that you're using whatever is between your feet as your resistance for the lower half. Then you're going to take that right leg and tap it back. Notice that I'm keeping that right leg in hip extension so my knees don't get close to one another. We're going to keep that nice erect posture, and then just lift that right heel towards the glutes. So a single leg hamstring curl. Take your left arm out to the left side, turn the palm up. Simultaneously, you're going to give me a bicep curl. We're going to do 8 more. So we're getting a lot of balance in through here. See that you're not leaning towards that left side to counteract the leg off the floor. Really recruiting everything into that torso. Small pulses. So again, solid foot plant, neutral load into that hip so we're not sinking through the pelvic girdle. Last 4, 3, 2, change sides. Take that lasso, undo the right foot, and wrap the left. Same idea. Little taut, but not so secure. Foot roughly in the center. Then I want you to go ahead and curl. Right away, I want you to notice any differences, whether it's on the stance leg, the range of motion in the active leg, or maybe how you're using your back. Let's add the arm. We've got 4 more. So somewhere in that 10 to 20 range, small pulses, which is just working more of that endurance, muscular endurance, versus a lot of power or strength. Last 8, 7, 4, 3, 2, gently release. We're going to keep the band, take that loop out, grab a hold of your stability ball once again. Let's repeat everything that we just did. Couple variations. So again, center of the band, underneath both feet. Then I want you to grab the handles, choke up or pull a little bit more taut, and then just that straight pull back. Ever so slightly, I want you to begin with that straight spine to lightly lean back and keep the chest and sternum lifted, but without overextending your T-spine. So you're still feeling those front ribs kind of knit down. That close elbow row sometimes, again, creates more of this rolling of the humerus forward. I want you to think of that lower trap area or that bottom of your shoulder blade pulling down. So we're trying to get those lower fibers of the trapezius to be good, strong, and stable, since most of us are upper trap fiber users, and hence why we always feel the neck whenever we do shoulder work. We've got 4 more like this. And then elbows come high. I've released that choke because of that angle. With the
elbows higher. See if you can, again, feel those lower traps. I always like to envision like an upside down pine tree. For the trapezius muscle, it's wider at the top by your neck and shoulders. Trying to get that point or the peak, which is at the bottom, to engage. Let's do 4. And then cross one handle over the other. Walk those feet in a little bit. Elbows come to your waist with that same elbow to shoulder in alignment on the vertical. Start to rotate out to the sides. So this is just a little bit different as far as keeping the load against gravity and working the rotator cuff, because your action of tension is downward. So you're getting some delts in here, obviously, as you're pushing out or pulling up against it with the biceps. But our goal is really to think about that axis of rotation right into that shoulder socket. Resist it as it comes in. You have 4, 3. Go ahead and release. Lose that band. Walk back out to a crunch position. Feet maybe a little bit more narrow than the first set, challenging your balance. Hands behind your head. Actively tilt that pelvis posteriorly. Lean back and then fold forward. Remember, engaging your glute max in that bridge position helps to stabilize the lumbar, especially when we add rotation. Still a little active head push back. At an angle one side than the other. Something to also add a little balance challenge here for the second and last set. Maybe lift the opposing knee towards the moving elbow. Always a little bit more tricky to find that grounding and placement foot, how your carriage is when you're more unstable. Let's go 4 more, 2 each side. Last time, walk back up to a seat, lose that ball, grab your long band. And again, a sumo squat position or toes and knees angled slightly outward. Choking up or wrapping just to start to lower with the legs. I want you to also think about not just lowering yourself to the floor, but actually creating some rotation as you do so. So you're getting some push back or external twist within the hip socket, but without losing that midsole or the medial line of your foot grounding, so you're not rolling back. Then every time you lower, let's straight pull back. So nothing's really changed from the first set, except for maybe a little more resistance because you've added some wraps. You've got 2 more straight here. Then I want you to hold it at the bottom, 3 counts. Come up on that 4th. Repeat, pull, hold, hold, rise up. Wrists are nice and straight so you're not breaking that line. Next time, add your tricep, pull in, downward rotation of the scap. You can actually feel the lats engage and that sensation down to the insertion right at your waist or your ilium. You've got 4 more. A little multitasking here. Make sure those heels are still staying grounded. Last one. And then again, I want you to take one handle, lasso it through, wrap your left foot first this time. We're gonna compare them again, since one foot's starting each set. Stepping into the center, tap that left foot back, and then just basic hamstring curls. So remember, what we're looking for is a good hip extension, so as you're curling, you're not pulling that knee forward and powering up with more of that hip flexor area or hip flexor action. Let's do a couple more. And then add your biceps to that hamstring curl. We have 4 more just like this. Then I want you to double time it. 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then switch sides. Probably be easier if I just counted 16 reps. So again, lasso your right foot, hold the handle with your left hand, step in the center, tap that right foot back, and let's curl. Sorry for all the different angles that you see on the camera. If I were a videographer, more so than an instructor, it would be much better aligned. Sorry about that. Add your biceps. You have 4 more single range or single counts. How does this side feel compared to the other? Let's go 16 pulses. Eight more quickies. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, let that go. Whew. So now I want you to go ahead and set the band off to the side. We're gonna move into the medicine ball and stability ball, or ball, stability ball, and you can use a dumbbell. But I want you to bring that medicine ball close to you, within reach. So we're gonna kind of go back and forth. Then position yourself so that you can take your legs out to a bridge, or your hips out to a bridge. Head and shoulders are gonna be resting, feet about hip width. Actively push your head back, bridge your hips up, but knit those front ribs down. So depending on where you may need some balance, assistance, hands can be down, a little less behind the head, or maybe even just adding some lightweight load across the hips. I just want you to bridge up and a little drop. So as you bridge, focus on that gluteal fold as your peak versus trying to get too much of hyper extension in the spine. We're trying to maintain a nice neutral pelvis and lumbar, activating a lot more of the hip extensors than the back extensors. Just 8 more. So again, active head push, little chin tuck at the same time. 4 more just like this. More core engagement. Gently release. Go ahead and roll it over. Find a forearm plank onto that ball. You can be on your knees or toes for a little bit more load. Find protraction or pushing forward of the scap to stabilize that joint. And then I like that tricep extension to punch the fists into the ball. We're just gonna press the ball front, pull in. So glutes are strong. Getting a little bit of that hip torsion or rotation, external pull within that hip socket and the femur. You have 4 more like this. Nothing so crazy here, just activation. Then I want you to release it, roll the ball to the feet or the shins. And if you have wrist issues, you can grab some weights to put your hands and keep your neutral wrist, or you can turn those fingers lightly out, but ideally, I want you to have more fingers forward with a tenting of that thumb and index finger to give you more stability, kind of like the hip, to rotate that shoulder into that position. Same idea with protraction, head push back. Then just jackknife by bringing your knees in towards your chest, pushing back. Do that again slowly. Then work up to tempo. Maybe it's a single count with the beat you hear, or at any rate, that challenges that hip extension from a flexed point. One little subtlety I want you to notice is that your weight stays forward. You're not sitting back and pushing out of that. You're bringing everything front. Last 4, 3, 2, and gently release. Carefully step off the ball. Position yourself once again into that bridge, only now I want you to bring your weight or your medicine ball with you. Walk back to that hip bridge, head, neck, and shoulders pressing. Same hip extension without that hyper back. Then we're just gonna raise the ball straight up overhead. Think again about that upward rotation from the sides of the scap. You're gonna reach that ball way over and pull it back to the top. So that beginning glute activation helps to stabilize us here as that weight travels a longer distance from the center. 3 more like this. And because we are not just sagittal plane movers, I want to introduce a little bit more rotation. Angle it to one side, come back to center, angle it to the other side, come back to center. Allow some pivoting in your shoulders and in your hips. Let's do 2 more to each side. One more. Gently release that. So now I want you to push the stability ball off to the side. Bring yourself to a plank position. I'm going to do mine on my knees with your left hand on the ball, your right hand on the floor. So because I'm going to be moving this in a direction laterally, I'm going to take my knees wide. Same thing can happen with your feet if you like to do push-ups on your feet. But I want you to keep your head in alignment with the rest of your spine. Give me a slow push-up. Rise up. Change that ball's position underneath the right hand. Give me a slow push-up. And again, change that ball's position to the left hand. Let's do it a little quicker. Down, up. Switch sides, reset. Down and up. Switch sides, reset. So ideally, your sternum is the lead on that drop. The scap are still in protraction. And of course, you can always go a little bit faster. Although push-ups are such a great exercise for full body effort, because in essence, you're doing a lot of hip extension and core work to balance, most people get a lot of neck and improper shoulder facilitation in that movement. So really think about how you're stabilizing as you descend, and especially as you rise, spine stays really strong and straight. This is your last rep. Let's get back with that stability ball. Like we did on the first round, although now adding some weight, come to your hip bridge, feet about hip width apart, just bridge, up, and a little drop. So it's not going to be a huge change from the first round. We're just going to change where that weight load is distributed, so it changes the pull along our fascial system, and therefore a muscular and joint effort. Whether you have a dumbbell or this medicine ball, I want you to find the arms reaching about 45 degrees from the shoulder angle, head and torso. So you're still ideally not getting an overextensive spine, but a lot of that hip bridge extension, glutes, hammies, pushing and driving up, resisting down. Come back to a vertical ball, angle to one side. Keep your hips as neutral as possible. Depending on the weight, and of course how your shoulder can carry that weight, put it into that back hand or the side that you're twisted to. Let the opposite hand rest. So ideally, you're still keeping the hips neutral, the feet weighted neutrally. Last two. Come back to center, two hands, go to the other side. I don't know about you, but I definitely already feel a difference pulling from this side versus where I just was. Once again, single hand load, opposite hand rests. Actively pushing your head back, knitting those front ribs down. And bring that ball back to center, two hands. Go ahead and lose it off to the side. Turn over, find your plank. Knees or toes. Forearm press. Tricep extension. Scapular protraction, and then punch the ball, front and back. So last time, this is exactly what we did. I want you to double time it. So again, keeping your weight centered, angle from one side to the other. Similar premise that we just left with that med ball. See how central you can keep your hips and feet. Come back to that center, double time. 8, 7, 5, 3, just hold it forward. Last 4 counts. 3, 2, gently release it. Ooh, that was tougher. Feet on the ball, hands on the floor. You can also do feet on the floor and just do knee tucks versus a double knee on the ball. Find that protraction of your shoulders, slow jackknife. Taking what we just did, speed this up, double time. Same idea, angle from one side to the other. Trying to keep the shoulders and the T-spine a little bit more neutral as the hips pivot from side to side. You have 4 more to each. Last time, carefully stepping off. Bring yourself back to that medicine ball in hand and hip bridge. Head on the ball, hips high. Finding that nice neutral reach. Remember, the wider your feet, the more stable your base. Extend the arms, pushing overhead. That's actually flexion of the shoulder. I know that. Now maybe you're like me and you have a little bit smaller palm. So holding a weight for this much range in one hand might be a little tricky. And if you lose the weight, totally fine, just pick it up again. Try one hand reaching back. Switch it other side. Same idea as we've been doing in the second round. Alternating angles or opposing pulls. Kind of taking us off that center line. Maybe instead of a shoulder flex by the ear, it's a little bit more lateral. Again, feet closer is more unstable, more challenging. Let's do 2 more. And then as you come to the top, rotate to one side. Come back to the center, to the other side. So as we speed up, coming up, it's going to be tough to get that head pushed back as you come center, but focus on that rolling. Here we go, a little up tempo. Switch, switch. Try not to hold your head up in that protracted state. You may get a little dizzy. You have 4 more. 3. Last time. Lose your stability ball. Find your push-up position. Med ball underneath one hand. Same idea with that protraction and a little bit of retraction of the neck. Lower and lift, roll it across, lower lift, roll it across, again. That jackknife position in a nice stable shoulder girdle direction. I can't think of my words this morning. Really enables this dynamic action to be more stable. Notice if you're starting to lean back to your legs, come forward. This is your last time with a push-up. Then I want you to pause for a second. Come to a full plank with your feet wider than hip. Give yourself a good base of support. Then take that ball and just quickly shift it. See how almost instantly you can find that shoulder support and how it connects all the way down the lateral line and across the body before you switch sides. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, that's it. Roll that ball off to the side. Grab a hold of your stability ball. 35 minutes, nice easy workout. Quick workout, not easy. Take your hips back. Your knees can be narrow or wide. I want you to reach forward with your hands on that ball. Enables much more shoulder extension. There we go again, shoulder flexion. Drawing your chest down, but without getting too much flare of the ribs. I want you to feel that difference in pull from arms reaching forward and hips sitting back. If this is too much pressure and flexion of the knee, you can always put a rolled up towel under each knee or behind each knee, so it gives you a little bit more space to sit into. And with this same reach, I want you to angle the ball to one side. Feel the lateral line, just a little bit more on that one side that is bending away. Come back to center, roll to the other side. Again, just a little bit more lateral line pull. Then come back to center, pull that ball back in. Find yourself as if we were doing that crunch. Feet wide. Hips rolled into an anterior tilt supported by the ball. Chest open, ribs flared, hands come out to the side, head supports back. I always like a little bit of wrist extension, so take those fingers towards your shoulders or your forearms and feel the heel of your palm reach away. Really feel your fingers spread. Relax that wrist position, start to circle the arms a little bit higher like a V. Feeling a bit more of the lats, the serratus, obviously coming into those obliques on the ribs. And then bring the palms to meet. Make a fist, reach that fist away from you. Feeling a little bit more elevation of your shoulder blades. And then as you bring your arms in, compress your abdomen, exhale to roll all the way up. Give me a little bit of that reverse. So now I want you to recline on the ball so it hugs, or the pelvis hugs and the abdomen rests. Let your knees come off the floor so you actually have some weight to pull with gravity. Let your head come forward and just relax your chin into the ball so everything is kind of in a protracted passive state. Breathe into the width of your low back so you feel some of that kind of lateral border get more range or reach. A lot of torso and how it extends into the limb. Gently roll back to your knees and help yourself all the way up. Let's come to a standing position and take a nice deep breath in. Circle your arms up overhead. Exhale all the way out. Reach a hold of that ball and start to walk it forward as the hips push back. Getting a little bit more into the hamstring connection from all those single leg curls. Then I want you to roll the ball back in towards you. Place your left forearm on the ball. Push into it as you reach your right arm to the sky and continue pulling your hips backward. Come all the way back to center, switch it. Right forearm to the ball, left arm to the sky, reaching nice and tall. Gently release, rise all the way up. One more time, inhale, circle and reach. And exhale all the way out. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks for joining.